Ashoka to me represents the future. It actually represents the future of our business world. In my opinion, Ashoka is becoming more and more relevant with each passing day because our world is changing.
What Ashoka does, and has done for decades, is to recognize throughout the world that there are people, social activists, who want to change, make change happen, hence Changemakers.
I think Ashoka for me was an opportunity to learn about, first of all, my identity as a social entrepreneur. I had never heard the term social entrepreneur before Ashoka. Oh, that's what I am. Okay, so my wanting to change things and use business skills inside nonprofits, that's me as an entrepreneur. And then yes, I'm an entrepreneur that's driven by mission and social change and impact.
And I think if people really saw what's happening in Ashoka, what the fellows are actually doing, the collaborations that are taking place, they would experience a sense of hope.
I want to just finish this by saying a special introduction for Mary Gordon. Mary, as I said, is the recipient of the Order of Canada. She's been recognized internationally for the work that she's done. What Mary has done is shown the world that there is a way to instill the characteristics of kindness and compassion in people in a systematic way that is evidence-based and driven by science.
I'm Mary Gordon. I'm the founder and president of Roots of Empathy. We achieve this elevation of empathy and reduction of aggression by having children study the attachment relationship between a baby and a parent. And the children gather around a green blanket, and the Roots of Empathy instructor coaches them in observing the baby's feelings and the baby's intentions. And because the baby is such a vulnerable and appealing little being, the children readily find the humanity in the baby. And really the green blanket experience is a launching pad to help them understand how they feel, to help them learn to talk about how they feel, and to recognize how the other person feels, which of course is empathy. So the dynamic is quite simple, quite powerful, and it actually changes the brains of the children. It changes the structure and functioning of the brain, because it's all about the experience, which is biologically embedded in the children's brains. So we have scientific answers to the question that I was trying to solve: how do we reduce or break cycles of violence in the world?
Ashoka is an organization that focuses on transformational change, trying to find really new ways and unthought of ways of doing things, engaging communities from the grassroots up as a way to change societies. Mary Gordon personifies that, and she personified it long before anybody was talking about social entrepreneurship or anything like that. She decided that the best way to build a kind and compassionate society was to go out and teach children compassion, not through talking at them, by letting them hold a baby.
Who are we? Are we not just bigger babies? And if we wouldn't want anybody to bully the baby or to be mean to the baby or exclude the baby, how then is that any different from how we would treat one another in bigger bodies?
So my name is Jean-François Archambault. I'm a social entrepreneur from Montreal area. I founded La Table des Chefs, the chef table, which is driving chefs, cooks, and confectioners to social involvement. In the West Island of Montreal, I worked in a hotel that did a lot of catering, a lot of weddings, and a lot of big events. Over 1,000 meals on a Saturday night. They would throw so much food away in the end, and food that would be very good to serve to people in need. So for me, I put that together. Our role is really a role of a broker. So that's why we say we're a sustainable food broker service, is because we engage the chef into food recovery. We sign him into the program, and it creates it creates an offer for the shelters to come and pick up that food. The hotels bill it back to their clients into their catering agreements. So if you spend $10,000 a day for 100 people for a full day of meeting, you won't mind paying $50 for a food recovery program that makes sense. So, and it doesn't cost anything to the hotel. The Bell Center came from the fact that Pierre Boivin, the past president of the Montreal Canadiens, was on my funding committee. He said, now you have to solve my problem. We're wasting half a ton of food per game. We're throwing away so much food, and that is causing me a problem. And our corporate clients who rent these suites, they hate to see that, and they're putting pressure on us to make something happen. And so we went through a 2 to 3 months training with the team, the hostess, and everyone to set it all up. And finally, one day, we started with 10 suites, 30 suites, and then since the last 3 years, we've been doing all suites every year, recovering 55 to 60,000 meals every year. If you add up everything together, we're close to 300,000 meals that we provide to the food banks on a yearly basis.
My name is Anil Patel, Executive Director of Framework, the organization best known for running the Time Raiser. Time Raiser is a series of events that tries to encourage people to find causes they care about and connect in meaningful ways. So the night of our events is an opportunity for hundreds of Canadians to come in, match their skills to nonprofit needs. So if your interest is in the arts or the environment, healthcare, social services, there's dozens of nonprofits on hand to have quality conversations. And once the match is made, you become eligible to bid on art. The real big twist is, rather than bidding money on the works of art, you get to bid volunteer time.
If this is your first Time Raiser, this is how it works. It's really cool. It's like speed dating for volunteer agencies in our community. It's really neat. We've got stations set up all over the arts project here. The agencies will fill you in on what they do, and then you decide if it's a good match.
So our main goal is to plant 1 million trees in London in 10 years. So we're trying to make sure we get to all the different pockets of London, not just the outskirts. So we're trying to do residential areas, industrial areas, parks and natural areas.
So if I had a winning bid, say of 70 hours, I then have 12 months to complete my pledge with the charity I just met up with. And once I'm done my pledge, I get to bring the artwork home and put it up on my wall as a gesture of goodwill.
So I bid 100 hours. It was the max amount that you could do, and then they had a draw to see who was going to get it. And then I actually ended up completing just over 120 hours in total. I worked with both London Hospice and the Sunshine Foundation of Canada.
And not only that, we find ways to pay all of the emerging artists market value for their work. So we like to say it's a bit of a win-win-win, where artists get paid.
It's a unique opportunity for the artists and for everyone involved.
Nonprofits have access to skilled volunteers that they otherwise wouldn't have connections to, and then people who are looking to get involved are provided choice in all the different things that are available to them in their community.
Well, this is the 3rd year we've done it, and it's been very successful. There's been thousands of hours raised, and most people who make these bids, almost without fail, they actually complete those hours, and usually what we find out is they do more than that. Engage with an organization, they've made their bid of X number of hours, and then they enjoy it and they continue on.
Every particular avenue that Ashoka chooses to walk down is very much driven by the work of fellows. So we have 3,000 Ashoka fellows around the world, and at this point in 2012 we have 44 fellows in Canada. And a lot of what we do is try to take a step back and say, what are some of the themes that we see fellows working on? So we are putting on a summit to bring together the award winners and the award sponsors and other members of the community that's resulted from our Changemakers Competition called Inspiring Approaches to First Nations, Métis and Inuit Learning.
Essentially, Indigenous people around the world have been treated very badly by the dominant economic forces who have come in and settled on top of them. And we in Canada tend to think, oh my gosh, we're not part of that. Well, of course, unfortunately, we are. The treatment of Canada's Aboriginal peoples is certainly at total odds with our value system, the kinds of values that we take to the rest of the world, and yet we find ourselves caught at home violating those values. And I think that's, again, what this conference was all about, recognizing that those days are over.
This competition was a way of finding innovative ideas and projects from across the country that changemakers are working on in order to improve the learning environment for First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. We had 266 entries come in over a 3-month period. From that, we selected 30 award winners, and this was a way of bringing them together, celebrating those award winners, their projects, the change that they're making, and connecting them with philanthropists so that we can help those ideas and projects to grow.
So a very diverse range of funders and sponsors have been able to come together with Aboriginal organizations as partners to co-sponsor and to collaborate around the generation, discovery, and celebration of innovations in Aboriginal education.
We can't succeed without changemakers. These are the people that figure out things for the long run. Right? And they're able to do so because they have a vision.
That is because of Ashoka. I think it is also because of PPW. I think it is because the elders are here. I think it is because the cause is so great. But fundamentally, I think it is because some of Canada's finest are here, and they're going to make it happen. Thank you very much.
First Power is an energy company that uses clean energy as a platform, a place to build jobs and economic development businesses for First Nations.
Ochicha Siam, Sila Sisla, we ask you in a beautiful way at this time to be able to give us the permission to be able to work with the sacred elements of life.
Ashoka is playing an incredible role in our kind of scaling process. We're shortlisted right now to be in something called the Globalizer program that Ashoka runs, which is their global effort to help social ventures scale around the world. And they're doing a special program on social finance, so wanting to work with fellows who have innovations that aren't just sort of technical innovations, but also have a finance innovation as a key part of what they do. And so we're really excited to work with Ashoka on globalizing and building our global reach capacity.
And you can put committees together all you want, but if you've got one person who's got this real entrepreneurial ability that can think things through in a new way, it just I think can help change the world.
What we're trying to do is trying to change the way that aid tackles poverty. And while we have some good ideas, we don't have a monopoly on those. So meeting with other Ashoka Fellows is going to help us be more creative, try out ideas that have worked elsewhere or in different sectors, and see if they apply in places like Afghanistan or Liberia.
When you build something, you kind of feel that it's yours. If I share it, it becomes even greater. And that is really what it's all about.
And Ashoka is not just about supporting these social innovators, but also about knitting together a community of people who want to make change. So whether like Thomas, you're a 14-year-old who's trying to get his cafeteria to go completely green, or if you're like McKinsey, an entrepreneurial company that wants to support social innovators, or if you're like Starbucks, a company that's trying to support their employees to make change in their communities, or like Capilano University, a campus that's really trying to create the next generation of social change makers. We invite you to stand up, give yourself permission to make change, and join Ashoka in creating a world where everyone's a change maker.